Hi everyone, my name is Federico and in this video I just want to show you how to pass variable and share variable between Python and LaTeX. Let's have a look at this example that I have here on my screen. On the right side I have a very simple LaTeX document. I kept it simple because the scope of this video is just to show you how to pass variables between Python and LaTeX. So this is my document. As you can see here, I've compiled this document and I have two lines, a repetition. In one line, I have encoded the variable here in the text of LaTeX. In the first line, I have a value that is connected with Python. How LaTeX can read the variable from Python, I will just show you in a second. But as first, I want to talk about the benefit of using this technique. As you can see here, if the total score, which I'm calculating it using Pandas data frame, I'm just making a mock data frame. If the total score of the participant changes, in the second option here, I will have to change this value, which is hard-coded inside the LaTeX document. In the first option here, Python will update automatically the score for me. So it's going to be very useful, for example, if you are continuously logging temperature or if you are logging any other environmental variables and these values change over time and more data are coming in. So you want to set up your LaTeX document, but at the same time you want that the value update automatically without you having to change the value manually here in the LaTeX code. And this functionality allows you to do that because you can run your analysis with Python, save it into a file, a specific file, and then open it into LaTeX. Let's just have a look at what we need and let's have a look at our code. First, I will start with the Python code because it's super simple. Here is my project repository. As you can see, it's very simple. We just have inside source, src, here, our text file, and we have a Python file here. Let's open our Python file. It's super simple. We have just a few imports, and then we have defined this function, which is going to save variables that we want to LaTeX. Every time we want to save a variable, we will have to specify a key, as you can see here, and the respective value. So for the number of participants, at the moment, I've specified this more in a static way. So this value is not going to be updated automatically because I just key in 20. Differently is for the total score of this participant. Here I'm just making up a mock value, so don't worry too much. But as I said, you might be logging the responses or environmental data or any other type of sensor which is going to change, or the accuracy of your model, because for instance you're running again the analysis, you're changing some parameters and then you're getting a different accuracy. So you can just tailor it to your specific needs. So I'm basically creating a data frame, and this data frame, every time I run this line, is going to change. Why? Because inside I'm using a random generator, which is a NumPy random generator. So the first time I run it, I get this value. The second time I run it again, I'm going to get different values. Okay? As you can see here, the value have changed. So let me calculate actually the total of this data frame. Okay? So if I calculate the total of this data frame, now it's 26. If I run this line of code again, the total will change because it's going to be a random value. Okay, now it's 33. Let's see how I can save this variable into this file and then share it across. I can just invoke this function, save variable to LaTeX, and then this value will be updated in my file. What is the file that we're using as a middleman between Python and LaTeX? Is mydata.dat. In this file, as you can see here, we have the two variables, the key and the respective value. Each line is a new variable. So it is very important that the value and its respective key are separated by a comma. So let's go back to my main and let's have a quick look at this function. It's a super simple function, and don't worry too much. I will put this function here down under the description of the video, so you don't have to copy it here. Just go and check down and I will put it there, so you can just copy and paste it in your project. So what we need to do is just to import this package called CSV. We need to initiate a dictionary which will store all our variables. Okay, we need to specify exactly where we want to save this file. In my case, I just wanted to save it in the current directory, and I wanted to call it mydata.dat. That's very important that the extension, you don't change the extension. However, you can easily change the file name. Then I'm having a try and except statement just to check if the file exists. If the file exists, we open the file, we read it, and we assign to the dictionary. For every row, we assign the key and the value. So we just store it locally in a dictionary in Python. We add the new key that we have specified as an input. So for instance, in this case, we are going to add the number of participants, and then we're going to add the total score. If the key is already there, don't worry, this code will replace that value that was previously saved. And finally, we save this file back into the same directory and in same location where it was before. Now that we have saved that file, so let's run once more this Python file. Let's run it. We can see that the value have been updated. Let's go back into the LaTeX file and let's see what I've changed and what I had to do to import that file. Again, it's pretty simple, only a few lines of code. So we need to use this package called data tool and file contents. We need to specify the separator. So remember before that I mentioned that the key and the value were separated by a comma. So it is important that we stay consistent. And I think a comma is a good idea to separate the key and the value. Of course, you can change that. You can use a semicolon, exclamation mark, whatever you want. But I think a comma is nice practice. Then we need to open that database. That's why I had to add the extension .dat because we have to open that. We say that there is no header because there is no header in our database. And the keys and the format of our file is key, comma, value. We need to specify the file name here and the file location. Keep in mind that these and these should be the same. So if you change and you want to save it, and if you want to call your file in a different way, just you can do that, but then you have to update this value here and this value here. And also keep in mind that it's very important that you specify the right directory where the file is saved. So in my case, my main.txt file is saved inside source, and my mydata.dat file is outside this directory. So we need to put 2 dots / mydata.dat. So here we have loaded the database. Now we are defining a new command. And the new command is basically whatever we want. I like to call it var, the new command. And we are fetching from my data. So here, we are fetching what? The key and the value. And then in our document, when we want to reference that variable, we just have to say var, which is the new command that we have just defined, and the respective key. So let me run again this LaTeX file and compile it. You will see that the value are going to be updated automatically here on the right screen once the document is compiled. So you will see that, can you see, their score is 26 because it changed, but the second sentence where the code was, where the variable was hard-coded, unfortunately didn't update. So let's delete this line here because we don't want to show it, and I want to show the downside of hard-coding it over there. So let's go back to our Python file. Let's run it again. We want to update this value. And actually, let's change also the number of participants because now a new participant has come in. So we run this file again. We check that the value have been updated. We just go into main text and we run this file again. We should be able to see that the number of participants has changed to 21 and their total score is 29. Another very useful feature of this functionality that I'm just showing here is that simply from Python, you can also change how you run the number. For instance, right now I'm running the number with 0 decimal point. But if I put round 2, I can also control how this number will look like in LaTeX. So let me run this file again. Of course, the value will change because I'm using a random Python function, a random NumPy function. But if you were actually analyzing the data, your total number will not change, will only change the rounding. So let's compile again the LaTeX file. and I will want to show you that you will see that the number of digits has actually changed. So I think this is extremely useful, and you're going to benefit a lot from this feature if you, like me, use both Python and LaTeX to write your scientific paper, presentation, or reports. Thank you very much for listening. If you like this video, I would like to ask you if you could please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you found this video useful, just write a comment down below in the comment section, anything like a thank you message, or if you have any question, or if the code doesn't work on your computer, just write a comment down below and I will try to answer it as soon as possible. Thank you very much for listening.